Welcome viewers, Dr. JWA here. The law that changed women's rights when consent becomes compliance. A woman says no, not to someone's existence, not to someone's dignity, not to someone's right to live without discrimination. She says no to something much narrower, access to her intimate boundary. And suddenly, her reason matters. Her words matter. Her refusal matters, because a female-only boundary means very little if the woman protected by it cannot refuse its removal. And this is where the political architecture reaches its most personal consequence. Parliament created protections. Institutions interpreted them. Policies followed, but eventually the policy reaches an individual woman, a changing room, a hospital ward, a refuge, an intimate service. And somewhere biological sex matters precisely because privacy and vulnerability matter. Now the collision is no longer theoretical. A biological male person seeks inclusion on the basis of gender identity. A biological female asks for the boundary to remain based upon sex. Who must compromise? Well, I'll tell you who has to compromise under the Australian laws: the biological women. The question belongs upstream, to the political architects, to those who influence them, to those who design the protections. Because if lawmakers created competing claims without establishing a workable boundary between them, the unresolved problem did not disappear. It travelled downstream and landed on biological women until an ordinary woman was left to resolve these issues herself. And if she speaks up, she'll be punished and penalised. And there is a profound difference between accommodation and freely accepting political architecture. An accommodation imposed because refusing carries consequences. And that's where consent risks becoming compliant. This does not make every transgender person a threat. That's not the point. Nor does another person's identity automatically override a woman's privacy, but under the law in Australia it does. A person's identity automatically overrides a woman's privilege of privacy in female spaces. The issue is the architecture that must recognise both people without pretending the conflict doesn't exist. It does. Because the strongest test of a boundary comes when someone challenges it. And the strongest test of consent comes when somebody says no. If that refusal cannot meaningfully change what happens next, then biological women was never asked about their privacy before this law come in. They were simply told that now you'll have to share your private spaces with ideological men defining themselves to be women. And that's why the law that changed women's rights has to be re-architecturally designed by the politicians that changed it, and put it back so that females have their rights of privacy once again.